We got 15 games on the MLB slate. I have plenty of action, but there's more moves to make, which I plan on doing right here during the closing line. Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm so fresh like the morning. Mouth wide open like they yawning. Every time they see me, they in G-Stride. Homie, this is too far. Homie, I feel too alive. You can see me like Illuminati. You can see me like Illuminati. But I'm trying to...
What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to another edition of The Closing Line. My name's Troy Torrance. I host this show every Tuesday and Thursday here at Pub Sports Radio, representing the crew. And every single day we get better or worse. We never stay the same. Let's take this opportunity to make sure we're not wasting time. We need to be actively looking for ways to improve, evolve, no matter what the endeavor is. No wasted opportunity. Let's get to work, man. Coming off one of the biggest weeks of my season so far, not anything I'm particularly proud of, because I unloaded on the Diamondbacks in the last game of their series. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's time to go parabolic. Last Thursday was a great day. Outside of the D-backs in the first game of that series last week, where I had the money line parlay, the money line, I had -1.5. The first five I ended up splitting because I had paid the heavy price on the money line. Had the money line parlay with the Knicks. That was a winner. Then we gave it back with the -1.5 and the first five, which we paid -135 for. So that was a little bit hard to deal with. But then we had, the Blue Jays money line, the Angels first five money line, which were beautiful things. It took me forever to get to that Blue Jays game. We had the Marlins first five, which was a loser, Alcantara, who's back on our card today. We'll be talking about that game with Alcantara on the mound. We had the Knicks Cavs under last Thursday, which was a beautiful, beautiful bet, all based on line functionality. Finished up on Thursday plus 1.71 units. That brings the total here at the closing line to plus 14.72 units, which does not reflect how I've been doing this season thus far, because I've been struggling this season. Now, there's some reasons for it. There's specific teams I'm getting absolutely crushed by. I talk about it almost every week. I'm not going to continue to hammer home Yankees are killing me. But yeah, man, I'm really excited to get to work here today. And let's start with the MLB. I'm going to start it with a graphic that applies to 5 games on the slate today. It's one of the most common. I want to look at a market that is based the distribution of a market that's one of the most common markets we see. And that's when lines open between -110 and +110. You see me in chat, you see me on this show talking about this market very frequently. And I think it's important, especially on today's card, because 5 of the 15 games fall into this opening price range. And what I want to say, just to give more context, now I didn't have the space here to include the cash flow, but what I want to say is on average, 59% of bets and 61% of cash is on the road team when we see home teams opening between -110 and +110. And it's very consistent. It applies to both divisional and non-divisional markets. Now, you do see the road team getting more money in the divisional side of things, which is exactly where I want to talk about. There's 3 games, divisional games, that fall into this opening price range. That's the Orioles, that's the White Sox, and that's the Athletics. Now, all 3 cases are a little bit different, but I think this is a perfect way, because the first game up will be the Baltimore Orioles. Look at what happens for the divisional home teams in this market environment. They thrive, particularly when the total is an outlier, right? When it's less than 8 or greater than 9. Over 60% of totals fall in that 8 to 9 bucket. So when you see them outside of 9 or inside of 7 or inside of 8, that's a little bit of an outlier. And if you see that first line in that top section, when you see it close, when a home team opens between -110 and +110, closes between -110 and +110, look how profitable they are. And especially on the front end and back end of the spectrum with the high or low total, we're talking about massive edges. And these aren't just edges that like one season caused an extraordinary outlier, or one team caused an outlier. You'd be surprised to see that 28 of 30 teams are profitable in division in that opening and closing price range. And it just shocks me to my core to see how successful they have been. This tells us that bookies, when they take a stand on a home dog in this price range, they're giving us a major, major indicator that side is the side to bet on. And we will be betting some of these spots today. So with that being said, perfect timing there. We're starting to get a little bit of camaraderie, me and my guy Vic backstage. I appreciate you, Vic. And with that being said, actually the first game up is the Nationals and the Guardians, where we're seeing 69% of bets, 55% of cash coming in on the Guards per Action Network. Cleveland opened See, I have a different opening line here. We should be working off the same numbers. I'm seeing Cleveland open at minus 156. They're down to minus 132. We're seeing this line move away from them. Actually, the line has continued to move again towards the Nationals 6 games in a row. The line 6 games in a row, the line has moved towards the Nationals. That dates back to their series, their past few series, including the series against the Atlanta Braves, where the Braves just completely left their bats in Miami. And this opening range in non-divisional, non-conference games is pretty neutral, especially with this line movement. It's actually priced so closely to break even. It just blows my mind. It boggles my mind to see how sharp these books are. And why it's important to look at both opening and closing lines. But this is a situation where I don't see an edge in the market. However, when I look at the matchup, I look at Cantillo, and I think he's a great pitcher in my opinion. 1.32 whip, 305 ERA, 374 xERA, one of the best, most consistent pitchers the Guardians have to offer. He's extremely deceptive with his changeup. He has incredible command. 11 starts so far this season. 9 of them, I would say, are quality starts. Washington versus left-handed pitching since May 1st, they're 9th with 111 WRC plus, but they're 3rd on the season. And this is another situation where both these teams, I just get a little bit confused because both these teams are left-hand hitter dominant, and they hit left-handed pitching better than they hit right-handed pitching. They got to the likes of Lodolo, they got to Thornton, they got to Snelling, David Peterson. Like I look at the game log of who Washington has got to in terms of left-handed pitching, and I think Cantillo might be the best left-handed pitcher they've seen outside of Sanchez. Christopher Sanchez went 5.1 innings, 4 hits, only 1 earned run. So I do think Cantillo can put together a good start. I don't agree with the line movement, but I wouldn't agree with the opening price either, because Cavalli is another pitcher that I'd like to somehow I could continue end up backing Cavalli in the first 5, and he's been pretty profitable. I've actually lost one recently with him. I'm really only betting the Washington Nationals in the first 5, but he's coming off 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs against the Mets. His only issue is he continues to leave the four-seam fastball, which is his most used pitch, right over the heart of the plate. There's an expected slug of 550. That's not good. And Cleveland, again, versus right-handed pitching, they're 15th over the past month. They're 19th on the season. I'm still confused as to why they're not hitting right-handed pitching. They're hitting left-handed pitching. But this line has moved into a range where I believe it's going to be, you're going to be losing money no matter what side you bet, because I don't believe that there's value on the Guardians at this price. And I think the value has dissipated on the Nationals. For me, this is one of the rare passes on the card. And I kind of jumped right in without saying what's up to the chat. Let me take a minute to holler at my fam in here. I really appreciate, I really do, everyone coming out to support me, supporting Pub Sports Radio. We do a great job bringing quality information, armed to the teeth, as I like to say, because I do come armed to the teeth with information for the show. We got Jermaine, Ryan Glover, Ronnie Lofton. Ronnie Lofton's on the over 3.5. Nats team total. Interesting. Truth teller, what you want is slight edges, and you're not just, yeah, right. Exact truth teller, that's spot on. I say it all the time. Like, bookies will back you off. Bookies will back you off. If they know you have a 1% edge, you're gone. You're getting limited, or you're completely gone. Same thing goes for the blackjack table. Anytime you have an edge over the casino, over the bookies, over the house, they're coming for you. They want you. They want to know who you are, and they want to ban your ass. So that 1% is a massive edge. Guards 9-2 with Cantillo, 8-3 to the over, 7.5 going. Yeah, I do see some trends to the over, but there was a massive split when you look at non-conference games that took me off the over. But I did actually like the over look in this game. Jermaine, Louis Pepe, Marlins as a road dog versus Blue Jays as a home favorites, fits probability margins, money respecting Marlins. We'll get to that game. I'll come back to that comment. What up, Jimmy the Bad, JTB in the house, Rob McMahon, happy fucking birthday, my dude. I got a birthday. I definitely have one bet that I've kind of loaded up on here, so I'll definitely give that out. Toby Lane, my guy, what's up, Troy? I'm hammering the Avalanche tonight, exactly when everybody jumped out of them. Yeah, exactly. When everyone turns their shoulder, gives the cold shoulder to a team, especially a team with the competence of the Avalanche, a juggernaut, and they turn their back on that team. We'll talk about that. Very interesting. Uncle Eddie, what's going on, my dude? Mark, man, what's up? Nats first 5 teams total over 1.5. Oh, man, I like Cantillo, Mark. I like Cantillo, but I don't blame you. Like I said, I would be on the over in this spot if I was betting anything. All right, next game up. Let's go over to the Orioles and the Rays, where I've actually moved pretty heavily in this spot. And I've been waiting to see a change to this market, but this is exactly what I like to see. We're looking at 71% of bets, 88% of cash coming on the raise. Let's see if that's changed. 74% of bets, 85% of cash. So it's not really changing. It's fluctuated right in this same exact cash flow range all day long. The Orioles opened at minus 105, and it's been pretty much flat. Now we're seeing minus 107. You can see it on the screen. There's been a 1 cent move per DraftKings, and we see that pretty much everywhere. It's a very tightly distributed range, and it just makes me think about the graphic we just touched on. And I'm going to get more specific with where this line opened. It opened minus 105. Let's take 10 cents and let's create a range for it. Minus 115 to plus 105 with less than 10 cents of line movement. The home team is 98 and 56 straight up, 64%. In that sample, 89 and 61 to the over. That's 59%. If the total opens and closes between 8.5 and 9, which is exactly where we're going to see right here, you want to leave off the 8 because it's juiced to the over. We're looking at 8.5 and 9 only. 30 and 18 straight up for the home team. 29 and 17 to the over. That's 63%. And if the market's moving towards the under, which you could argue that this market has moved towards the under in this spot, well, guess what that does? That just creates a better situation for the home team, 26 and 12, and for the over, 24 and 13, 65% to the over. So there's really nothing here that I see that takes me off of the Orioles or the over. And the last note here, if 60% or more of the bets and cash is on the road team, 19 and 6, 76% to the over. I already moved on the over. This will be my third betting an over for 2 units. I have 2 units on this over. And I do agree because you look at the matchup, I look at Griffin Jax. This is a pitcher I want to fade. He has 1.36 whip, 3.53 ERA, 4.50 xERA. So regression is looming for this guy. But is it? It's really hard to say it is because you look at Tampa Bay, what they're able to do with their pitchers, transitioning Jax from a relief pitcher to a starting role. That's a massive change. And look at he's been pretty damn good, right? He's adjusting to the new role. His xERA has come down not significantly, but it's come down a few points, maybe half a run over the past few weeks. He's adjusting to his new role. His last outing, 3 hits, 5 innings pitched, 1 run against Baltimore. And it's really hard to go against what Tampa Bay is doing with their starting pitching just because of how their track record. Their track record is so solid with pitching and making the right decisions that it's hard to go against them. But there's going to be a big learning curve with this transition because as a starting pitcher, you need to throw the fastball significantly more. He wasn't doing that. Last year, his fastball sinker accounted for 30% of his total usage in pitches. In 2026, it's up to almost 50%. That's over a 50% increase. I know it's a percent of a percent, but that's how you want to look at it. Those are also, so the fastball and sinker are also his worst pitches in terms of X batting average, so expected batting average, expected slugging percentage, and his fastball velo is down year over year. And I think that's just because the longer he stays in the game, the more his velo drops off. That was very apparent in his last start. And I think what we're seeing from Griffin Jax is he's due for a blow up, and I think the underlying numbers suggest that to be true. Baltimore's 12th versus right-handed pitching since May 1st over the last 30 days. You look at Shane Baz on the other side, 145 whip, 487 ERA, 469 xERA, so he's pitching pretty close to his expected. But his underlying numbers have gotten significantly worse, and I wanted this Shane Baz character for the past 3 seasons. And I don't know if Jimmy the Bag put it in my head that Shane Baz, but I have a mixed bag with performances with Shane Baz. He's been good to me in some cases, been bad to me. So I'm really neutral on Shane Baz overall. His whiff percentage, his K rate, his walk rate, his ground ball percentage, his barrel percentage, all have moved in the wrong direction year over year. His fastball velo dropped, but he still throws 96 miles an hour. He's still throwing a fastball that's prevalent. And, the increased usage of his curveball and cutter that has not worked for him at all. His last time out, though, Tampa Bay, 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 earned run. And Tampa Bay's 3rd since May 1st against right-handed pitching. Both bullpens, taxed. They used a ton of their arms in last night's game. They're taxed. I don't mind this move if you want to consider it a move from 9 down to 8.5. I like the over in this spot. I am planning on adding the Orioles, but like I said, I want to see this line close in range. I think it even ticked back towards the Rays here before first pitch. So when I circle back to finish this show off, I'll let you know if I do move on the Orioles. I had them last night, so I had them pretty big plus number yesterday, plus 120. Had a great close, had like 15 to 20 cents of closing line value. Was lucky to get the win. I want to get more, please, more variance, please, more variance. You can only control what you can control. So I like the Orioles. I like the over. Have moved heavily on the over. Dutch Boy Fresh, my guy killing the NBA season, man. Really appreciate the content you're putting out. And I love the sesh, man. Great show. Really is. I always chime in, check in when I can. All right, man, let's go. Next game up, Pirates Cubs. My Cubbies are just brutal right now. Absolutely brutal to watch. I don't even want to watch them. It's really the first time this has ever happened to me. That there's one team I'm a fan of, it's the Chicago Cubs. My dad has Cubby Blue in his DNA, and he put it in me and his son. He passed it down genetically to me. Now I'm a Cubs fan, even though I grew up on the South Side. And I went to school 1 block away from Comiskey, from Sox Park. I'm not going to say guaranteed rate. That's trash. But this has been very sad to watch what's happening with the Chicago Cubs. And now we're seeing the public starting to catch on here as 64% of bets, 59% of cash is on Pittsburgh. The Pirates open -131. They're down to -143. So we're actually seeing a pretty big move. It was a neutral market for most of the day. And this makes me want to pull up the distribution of this market and look at when we see this big move towards the home team. It's very mixed results, man. Oh, my God. Very mixed results. Doesn't leave me with a lot of confidence. And you could say it's neutral. I would say this market is extremely neutral on both sides of the spectrum, especially when you look at in-division markets. And the market history suggests over is the right play, but that seems way too obvious to me. We're looking at a total of an 8. We got Wicks on the mound on one side. And I thought the -130 opener was extremely short when we see Wicks, who is a left-handed pitcher with reverse splits. These left-handed pitchers with reverse splits usually do not fare well in the MLB. And there's one pitcher later I'm going to talk about. I'm going to use 3 others as reference, but the reverse splits with left-handed pitching do not fare well in the MLB. And we've seen his xERA in 2023 was 4.1. It was 5.2 last year, and over 14 innings, 14 innings last year was 3.99. So he's actually gotten better the more time he's been in the MLB, but he hasn't pitched in the MLB yet. I think it's safe to say Wicks is below average starting pitcher at this point in his career. His best offering is a changeup, and it doesn't really complement him very much when you only have a fastball, a 92-mile-an-hour fastball to accompany that. So, and if I remember correctly, he struggles to throw the changeup for strikes. So that's a problem. Your best offering, you cannot throw it over the plate, throw it for strikes. That's a problem. But Pittsburgh, they hit right-handed pitching, especially at home. Not really the case with left-handed pitching. They're 24th over the last month, 24th on the season. And this is where I was confused because you have Wicks on one side. Then you have this is the second best pitcher on the Pirates staff, Ashcraft. 1.03 whip, 289 ERA, 285 xERA. He's pitching exactly to his expected numbers. He's coming off 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run against St. Louis. And he's been much more vulnerable at home, surprisingly. He's been lights out on the road. He throws nothing but fastball and breaking pitches. He has no changeup, but his fastball and breaking run values are in the top 88th and 81st percentile, respectively. Every conceivable metric for Ashcraft is improved year over year. And the Cubs versus right-handed pitching, they're 12th on the season. They're 17th since May 1st. Every week window, you shorten that view, they've gotten worse and worse. This is where I don't think we should be buying low on this Cubs team in any form. I talk about this pretty much every week as well. In the NFL, even in basketball, there's plenty of situations you want to be looking to buy high. You basically want to be incorporating buy low, sell high principles. I think they're less applicable in the MLB. This team is just broken. How can you have 2 separate 10-game winning streaks and you're barely above 500 on the season? The market's not strong enough for me to move on Pitt. I would like to see a bigger opening line. Fortunately, that's not the case. I'm off the spot. I've only bet against the Cubs twice this season. I'm 2-0. One was in Tampa Bay, and one of them was in Atlanta. But, yeah, this is definitely not a spot I'm very excited about. I'm going to be passing on that, but I couldn't blame you for a bet on the Pirates. It looks too good to be true. Looks too good to be true. Let's see what we got. True Teller. What if you didn't sell a pick? Instead, you sold access. Now, maybe saying I could get down. I bet the Cubs because Troy said everything he puts on Twitter turns to gold. It didn't work. I wanted to believe. I know, man. I only put the Cubs on Twitter because I wanted them to win so bad, and it was the case. I mean, you look at my X feed. I mean, I'm not deleting any posts. I've been ridiculous. Even back to the basketball season, the college basketball season. Everything I put on X turned to gold. I'm sure some people are pretty frustrated with that. But, yeah, it wasn't the case. The very next day I posted a bet to go 2-0 as well. Yeah. Yeah, you actually have to do the work. I agree. All right, next game up, we got the Tigers and the Angels, and this is a situation I am particularly bullish on. More of the matchup than the market, but the market definitely coincides with my sentiment on this pitching matchup. We're looking at 68% of bets and 60% of cash on the Tigers, who basically only won 2 of their last 15 games. They're on a complete and utter slide to the downside, just like the Chicago Cubs. The Tigers open minus 136. What are we seeing here? We're seeing this. Okay, I'm seeing 137 as the current price. We got 143 posted. I've seen this dip down to minus 132 like it did earlier in the day, but it's staying in that 10-cent range. I love to look at these markets in that 10-cent range where you filter down to the opening line plus or minus 10 cents. Then you filter it down where line movement was plus or minus 10 cents in either direction. I feel like that gives me a very, very clean market to deal with. It gives me pretty big samples to work with. And I believe that it gives me a very, very clean read on this game. So when you have a line that opens and closes between minus 145 and minus 125, with a total that opens and closes between 8.5 and 9, the home team is 97 and 73 in that sample, 57%. That's right on the break-even point. However, the under is 96 and 66. That's 59%. And if 60% or more of the cash is on the home team gets worse. They're 32 and 27 straight up, 54%. The under gets better, 38 and 20, 66%. I like the under in this game. I like Montero particularly. I like Montero in this matchup. He's got a 101 whip, a 371 xERA. He's pacing for the best season of his career. He's coming off 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 3 earned runs, all generated from the home run ball. All signs showed a significant improvement year over year. His fastball velo is up, which has elevated his effectiveness on his slider and his changeup, all of his off speed, because his velo is up on his fastball. It allows him to throw it more often and allows him to work off of that fastball more often as well. He throws the changeup to left-handed hitters, the slider to right-handed hitters. He knows his game plan and he's able to execute it. Last year walks were an issue for him, but his walk rate came down 30% year over year. He allowed 4 walks against Cleveland his last time out, though. Maybe that's starting to regress, but that remains to be seen, because I think he's going to be just fine against this Angels team, who doesn't walk very often, and they suck versus right-handed pitching. They're 29th since May 1st, 27th on the season, and we'll talk about the situation in a second. Then you got Kokonowitz on the other side, who is, I believe, significantly worse than Montero, and I think that's why we see this game priced the way it is, despite the Tigers winning 2 of their last 15 games. But looking at his underlying numbers, like, he's been terrible in May. Like, he went from lights out in April to garbage in May. 22 innings pitched, 24 hits, 17 earned runs in May. That's a 6.85 ERA. But looking at his underlying numbers, I only have one takeaway, and he's too predictable. He lacks quality sequencing and location. His fastball breaking run value is 92nd and 73rd percentile, respectively, yet his xERA is over 5. That's a rarity. That's an outlier. Something's inherently wrong, and I think it's because he's too predictable as a pitcher. However, he gets Detroit, who versus right-handed pitching is 30th since May 1st, 22nd on the season. The situation, I think the spot favors the Tigers. You got the Angels coming off 3 consecutive home series, sweeping the Rangers. You got the Tigers coming off, coming home after a day off with a 4-16 record in their last 20 games. 4-16 in their last 20. I can only look towards the Tigers and the under, but I moved on the under, and I isolated the first 3 under. Montero, through the first 3 innings of work, 27 innings pitched, 14 hits, 7 earned runs, a 0.85 whip. Kokonowitz through 3 innings, 30 innings pitched, 23 hits, 9 earned runs, a 1.3 whip. The Angels travel after multiple home series. They've done that 2 other times this season. 0 runs through 3 innings against Kansas City, 0 runs through 3 innings against Toronto. How about the Tigers in the first game of a home-to-home series? They got 1 run through 3 innings against Cleveland, 0 runs through 3 innings against Boston, and 0 runs through 3 innings against Kansas City. Over the last month, the Angels and the Tigers are the worst teams in the MLB, respectively, against right-handed pitching. I moved on the first 3 under 2.5 at plus 105. I usually agree with Jimmy the Bag sentiment. I want things to be expensive. I think that's a good sign and a good, probably the better side to be on, to be with the juice opposed to against the juice. But this situation where I'm willing to take the plus money on the first 3, and I've done this many times. I was thinking about maybe doing this where I bet the first 3 under 2.5, and then bet both sides for a half a unit, team total under first 3 under 0.5 at big plus price. I didn't do that. I just stuck with the first 3 under 2.5 at plus 105, and I do plan on moving live if it doesn't come through. Let's see what we got in chat. Cubs got 8 straight losses to right-handed pitching starters. Yeah, and they're on a 7-game skid, just generally speaking. The Cubs can't win a game right now. Really, really sad. Top set. Woo! I look down on my hand. Woo! I hit that top set on the flop. Man, every time I see you, I get the chills, man. I'm dead ass serious. Top set, welcome, my dude. Welcome. Let us know what action you got going on. See what Truth Teller got. I'm not fading the Cubs going to get hot again. Eventually, they're going to get hot. We know that. Maybe the Fire Council, to be honest. The market I use for placing bets, it doesn't care who's pitching. See some of the spots where you like. You have a certain percent to win. I feel like the key is to weed out the bad spots. I know. I have to be more selective. I feel like that definitely applies to me. Next game up, we got the Red Sox and the Braves, another game I'm bullish on. So we got 32% of bets, only 17% of cash on Boston. The Red Sox open -105. They're up to -110. Very shocking to see that, knowing that all the cash and all the action's coming on the Braves, who, despite their recent struggles, who's the public going to be betting? The Braves or the Red Sox? We know the answer to that. And home, so here's the sentiment. I should probably get a graphic going. And Thursday is much easier to kind of show graphics because we got so much more time, so much less action going in that day. Home teams that are priced between -120 and -100 with the line moving towards them, despite 60% of bets and cash on the other side, 35 and 24 straight up. It's a very rare occurrence, but 35 and 24, that's 59%. And 36 and 19 to the under in that sample. That's a massive trend to the under. If we incorporate the opening line of the -105 open, 30 and 15 straight up, that's 68% on the money line. And 25 and 15 to the under, that's 62%. The cash flow is the variable that drives this profile deep into plus EV territory. And it's what made me pull the trigger on both the Red Sox and the under in this game. Now, I got a ridiculous 9 with -125 juice, under 9. But I do, I took the Red Sox money line at -107. I believe in Suarez. He's got great numbers versus Atlanta. He's got a 3.19 xERA. In May, he's been great. He's only allowed 1 earned run through 14 innings of work. His fastball run value is 99th percentile, which is elite. He increased both the usage of his sinker and his fastball, which now brings a perfect balance, I feel like, to his whole entire mix. And on the other hand, he's seen some of his numbers drop in some main categories like whiff and K rate. And I do think that there's food for thought with that. But I do think his elite command and sequencing make up for it. I love what I'm seeing with his fastball. And the other side of things, we got Strider. He's got a 2.68 xERA. I faded him his last time out. I backed Alcantara. I alluded to that in my opening statement. I backed Alcantara, who got blitzed again, gave up 5 runs through 5 innings. But Strider looked pretty damn good. He gave up 2 earned runs his last time out. But, some of the things I noticed with Strider is his arm angle was between 46 and 48 degrees in 22-23. I talked about this last week, too. That dropped to 40 degrees in 2025. Now it's back up to 46 degrees. So, it didn't make sense for him to the drop in your arm angle is more helpful for a sinker slider pitcher. 4-seam is Strider's main offering. So why is he doing that? He got back up to 46 degrees. Now he's posting these great numbers. And even though his velo has dropped year over year, 98 to 97 to 96 to 95.5. Now it's kind of bottomed out at 95.5. His velo dropped, but I think some of the other offerings have brought him back up to neutral. His command is also, it was an issue. It wasn't his last time out. I want to just say this. I just don't think he's a Cy Young type of pitcher anymore. But there's a lot of season left. He's a young pitcher. He could still get back to his elite status. He's just not there yet. The Braves came home after Miami, and they left their offense in Miami when they did that. Their last 3 games in regulation, they only scored 3 runs. 3 runs against the Washington Nationals pitching, which the worst bullpen in the MLB for multiple years now. Every team goes through their ups and downs. We see it with the Cubs. Maybe the Braves' time is right now. And the Red Sox just got swept at home against the Twins. The Red Sox and the under is the way to play this game, in my opinion. 2 quality pitchers on the mound. Market history suggesting the under and the Braves are the right side. Atlanta versus left-handed pitching since May 1st through 14th in the MLB. They're kind of falling off a little bit. Boston versus right-handed pitching are 20th since May 1st, but the worst on the season. So I expect favorable regression for Boston still. And but the under and the Red Sox in this game, I think they're 2 quality plays. So Red Sox three-way under, first five full game, Pirates first five, Twins first five, Padres. Okay, triple up spot for my guy Top Set on the under. Red Sox smash. Let's get it, Nate. Let's get it. I dig it. I'm with you, dude. Troy, the best MLB capper in pub sports, hands down, straight up breaking it down with game analysis to include his color-coded graphic. Out fucking standing. I appreciate you, man. Bust my ass. And even though the results haven't been there this year, my history, which in the MLB is over 5,000 bets at this point, and I posted over 100 units of profit. So I got to get back on the righteous path. I got to stick to the process, buckle down, and I get her done. Thank you for the comment. I appreciate it. All right. Next game up, Blue Jays, Marlins. I was on the wrong side of this game yesterday. I was on the Blue Jays, and we look at this market today. We're looking at some movement now. 62% of bets, 43% of cash coming in on the Blue Jays. Jays open minus 143. They went down to minus 137 a few hours ago. Now they're down to minus 131. Total opened at 8, juiced under. Now it's down to 7.5, juiced towards the over. If we continue to see the public continue to pile in on the Blue Jays with less than a 10-cent move, I feel like I wanted to move on the Marlins. I did want to move on the Marlins. Now, there's some things in the market that I'm a little bit concerned with. This move is starting to become a little bit too far. The value is on the Marlins, but if you look at historically, usually we see this line move towards the home team. Now, you could look at the starting pitching matchup and say, well, you should have expected this with Alcantara on the mound and what appears to be a bullpen game, but it's not a bullpen game. Because our guy, Fisher's going to kick it off, but Miles is coming right behind him. He's likely going to give you 4 innings of pitch. So between those two guys, you'll get 5-6 innings out of them. And I bet you that they're going to post less than 3 earned runs. Miles throws the sinker hard, and it's dirty. And looking at his spray chart, like where those pitches land, it does look like he misses middle far too often. It's only a matter of time before a pitcher like that does get touched. But there's not a big sample for us to work with. But what we've seen from Miles so far has been very promising and encouraging for the young blood. And then Alcantara, I can't get my arms around him. He's got a 3.36 xERA, 11 starts, 7 of which were cup quality, 3 of which he got blown up. He got blown up against Atlanta for 6 earned his last time out. He's got decent numbers against this lineup. He's been significantly better at home. So now he's on the road. How is that going to work out? But he's indoors. It should be a pretty comfortable environment for him. He's limiting contact like he did in 2022 when he had his historically good season. But the K rate is significantly down. It's well below average. His fastball velo is down. There's definitely some red flags when it comes with Alcantara, but he definitely has been much better than he was last year over year. He increased the usage of the slider and added the sweeper. So there's some good and bad. It's a mixed bag with Alcantara right now. I can't get my arms around him, and that's why I'm off of this game. I want the Marlins. I kind of want the over in this matchup. My issue is the Marlins just upset the Blue Jays. We just seen an over, and psychologically, I want to fade what we've seen yesterday, even though I know that's not the case. This is the MLB. It's not a buy low, sell high. Those principles are applicable, but much less applicable than they are in other sports. You want to be riding the trend. I'm not going to be moving on this game. I have no confidence or conviction one way or the other. Troy's market efficiency database is like a cheat code. It does feel like, I keep it in my back pocket. It makes me feel comfortable, much more comfortable looking at these markets and understanding when to move, when not to move. And, I'm only getting better and utilizing it to my advantage better. And I just need to, like I said, buckle down, maybe limit some of my action. Narrow the scope, I should say. All right, let me get a little sip of water because my throat is dry at this point, man. All right, let's get it. Next game up, the Mets and the Reds. And this is another game where I'm a little bit confused. Obviously, nobody's going to be betting the Mets at this point. 25% of bets, 20% of cash. The Mets open minus 102. Let's see if this stands true. They're plus 101 currently. They got up to plus 105 at one point. The total opened 7 juice to the over. Now it's 7.5 juice to the over. So we're seeing this move towards the over. If this were a divisional game, I would already be on the Mets money line. Divisional home teams in this specific market environment, we talked about it with the graphic we opened the show with, 33 and 14 straight up, 70%. Now this is a subset of that graphic. In non-division games, they're 52% straight up. So you could look at this plus 101. You could probably get plus 105 to plus 110 somewhere. 52% at plus 110 sounds like a damn bargain. It sounds appealing, right? But I look at the Mets, it's not that appealing. And it's not appealing the fact that the database continues to want to fade Corbin Burns, Chase Burns. They continue on. It just wants to fade this guy nonstop. I don't know what the deal is with the database right now, because I can't bet on this guy because the database keeps telling me to bet against him. Now, there's some outliers like that where some pitchers, they just don't fall into the normal conditions the market base offers. So that's what I'm looking at this game is I just don't feel comfortable betting these Burns starts anymore. He's putting up Cy Young caliber performances day in, game out. I always comment that his lack of pitches will come back to bite him, but it has not been the case. And now he's up against the New York Mets, who are 30th in the MLB against right-handed pitching on the season. So hard to back a team of that caliber. And then you got Peterson, who it's really hard to tell what we're going to get from him. Typically Peterson is a guy who pitches above his expectations, his expected numbers year in and year out. It's been like 4 or 5 consecutive years. However, that's not the case. His xERA is actually lower than his actual ERA. And the underlying numbers suggest we should see improvement year over year. He's limiting contact better than he did last year. His chase rate improved. His walk rate improved. His fastball velo is up. However, we haven't seen that in the numbers. Cincinnati versus left-handed pitching is definitely lighting up the scoreboard at the moment. They're 7th over the past 30 days. They're 25th on the season. So who are they? I feel like we don't really know what the Cincinnati offense truly is. It's been a team I wanted to fade, but I'm not going to be on the side in this game. Chase Burns makes this an unbettable game for me, in my opinion, because the way he interacts with the market is not clear and concise. We got to slam on the gas a little bit here, because the next game up, I'll probably have a mouthful. I'm going to start to cut this down a little bit. The next game up, Brewers versus Cardinals. This is my most heavily bet game on the board. And it's probably not surprising to see that, or, people who know me have been following the database and what I've been doing for quite a while will know that I'm hammering this spot. The Brewers open minus 156. They're up to minus 186. We're seeing all the bets and cash coming out of Milwaukee, which actually works better for our profile. And if you isolate this specific market, and this massive move, you see it right here. What are we seeing right now? Let's see if this number still stands. They're up to minus 202. We're seeing a 30 cent or bigger move, no matter what book you look at, moving towards the Brewers. And historically, when you see that, we're talking about 68% on the money line, 62% on the run line over a 72-game sample. That's pretty damn good. The bigger the move in this price range in division, it doesn't have to be in division. Although I did make the note, in division, it gets even more drastic. The bigger the move, the bigger the ass whooping delivered by the home favorite. It's been the case. It's worked out for me for multiple seasons, and this season I've kind of hit a dead end. It's kind of regressed a little bit this season, but now it's time to get back on the train. I'm going to be betting it regardless all season long. I'm going to need multiple seasons of counter results to offset it, but I'm on the Brewers massively. I love what I'm seeing from Kyle Harrison. 107 whip, 296 xERA. In May, he's got a 123 ERA. He blanked both the Cubs and the Padres in his last two starts. And I just love what I'm seeing from this guy. His hard hit rate is elite, 28%, which puts him in the top 5% of the MLB. His fastball velo is almost up 3 miles per hour since 2024. His arm angle is up 10 degrees since 2024. His slurve is it's devastating pitch. And St. Louis versus left-handed pitching, they're 20th over the last month, the league average on the season. But we know they're left-handed hitter dominant. The runs that they manufacture come from the left-hand side of the plate. I like Harrison against left-handed batters. McGreevy is a guy, we talk about him all the time here, right? 0.99 whip, a 240 ERA with a 586 xERA. Regression is looming. There's no way he maintains this 240 ERA. He's been lights out in May. We know regression's coming for this guy. His K rate, his whip rate, his chase rate are well below league average. It's a matter of time before this guy gets absolutely blitzed. And Milwaukee versus right-handed pitching is heating up. We know this Milwaukee team hits in bunches. They're 6th over the last month. I expect that to continue throughout the rest of the season. And this is where most of the industry would say, most of the sports betting industry would say, the value is gone on Milwaukee. The line has moved too far. And based on market history, I couldn't agree more, because the bigger the move, the more profitable the home team becomes in this price range. I don't want to back the Brewers. We have to back the Brewers. Brewers. My gut tells me to sell high on Milwaukee or pass, but in the MLB, that's not the case. We ride the trend. We don't buck it. Brewers money line minus 181. Brewers -1, minus 130. Brewers -1.5, plus 115. Brewers first 5 money line minus 170. And I will be looking for live action. I'm going to be 5% deep in this game. But this is where you got to practice risk management, right? Know your bankroll. Know what percentages of your bankroll you're betting on any play. You want your bets, your sizing to reflect your edge, and this is where my edge exists. And I don't have much time to continue because I could talk about that game all day. Next game up, Royals versus Yankees. All the action's coming on the New York Yankees. Not a surprise to see when you got Schlittler on the mound versus Falter. And we see this line opened up. What we got? We got a slight move. Yeah, they're back to minus 205. If this line was moving towards the home team, that would change the case because home teams that open between plus 150, plus 190 are 46% straight up, 102 and 119 straight up. That's not that bad. That's 46%. That's a little bit better than break even. But if the line's moving towards them, that jumps to 66 and 58, 53%. If the total is greater than 8, 51 and 39, we're talking about massive home dogs here, winning 57% of the time. Yankees in that sample are 2 and 4. Unfortunately, I'm not going to consider a 2-cent move from minus 207 to minus 205 a move towards the home team. Schlittler has been amazing. He's mastered the tunneling between his fastball, his cutter, and the slider. Truly an elite pitcher. The Royals bats still struggling. Falter's a guy. He's Jekyll and Hyde. I have a love-hate relationship. He's posted a 480 to a 493 xERA in that range for 4 seasons in a row. I think it's safe to say, based on his personal history and this market, he's significantly below average. We know New York's smashing left-handed pitchers, but at the same time, I cannot bet on the Yankees in this spot. This is 100% a Royals or pass. If I see this line start ticking down towards the Royals before first pitch, knowing that the late bettors are coming in back in the Yankees and the line's moving away from them, it'll be a beautiful thing. The hard part is, looking at Schlittler's numbers on the road, 7 road starts. He's allowed one run or less in 6 of the 7. That's impressive shit. This guy's lights out, but you need to bet the Royals in this market, in my opinion. Royals are pass, 100%. I unload it. Truth, I'm not going to hesitate, man. I'm backing up the truck where I see fit. And if I look like a jag-off when it's all said and done, I look like a jag-off. But I'm just trying to get my money in good. If they hit the flush draw on the river, so be it. I'm making the bet again. And Top said, I know you dig that, what I just said. I'd parlay them with the Yanks. I don't trust the Yanks, and just because of this market, I want to see this line move towards the Yankees. But it did open. Now, you could argue that by saying this line opened massively, right? This was a massive opening line. And we talked about the opening line is more important than the line movement itself when it comes to home dogs, where it's vice versa for home favorites. Shit, man, we got to keep running here. Holy crap, I'm taking too much time today. I'm behind the 8 ball. Okay, White Sox Twins, next game up. This is a game that the graphic alluded to early in the game. The White Sox open minus 105. This market has been relatively stagnant. They're down to minus 102, which is perfectly fine. I have no problem fading the 3 cents of steam in this case. The total opened at 8, juice to the under. Now it's 7.5, juice to the over, and it's the juice. It just continues to juice down towards 7. So I love this market. This is home teams in division that open and close between minus 115 plus 105 or 95 and 63 straight up. 95 and 63 straight up for a home dog. If the total's between 7.5 and 8, 31 and 16 straight up, 66%. Joe Ryan's a guy that, I really like what he does. He's just so balanced with his pitch mix, his fastball 50%, then he has 5 other pitches that he uses 10% of the time. But he's slightly worse on the road. His ERA balloons to 3.95. His opponent batting average increases by 30 points. And Burke, he's the epitome of an average pitcher in today's MLB. He took a massive step forward. His elite fastball, top-end extension. He's improved his K rate, whip rate, chase rate. I'm on the White Sox. I haven't moved on it until right now. I'm moving on the White Sox. And I'm going to have to wait to get the line because I got to keep running here. But I'm sure we can get a plus price on the Chicago White Sox. I'll be backing them today in this market. I think it's a very favorable environment. Next game up, we got the Rangers and the Astros. 44% of bets, 26% of cash is coming in on the Rangers, and this is a very sensitive divisional market. When you have talking about an open of minus 149, this number is down to minus 136. Very sensitive market because this total is right in this pocket that is very split. Like we want to see this low total. This is a dead zone with this 8 total. Do you want to fade the steam in divisional games with the low total? Is that applicable here? I'm not sure, because we have seen this total tick down from 9 down to 8. That's what kind of throws me through a loop here. This total is moving towards the under. Leiter's a guy who his underlying metrics are a complete mixed bag. His fastball velo is down. His pitching run values declined year over year, but his K rate, his walk rate has improved. Another guy with reverse splits. Right-handed pitchers do way better with reverse splits than left-handed pitchers. And then you got Alexander on the other side, and I don't know, is he still? Yeah, he's going to be starting. I don't know what to expect from him. He's coming off 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs against Minnesota. With the 2 starts before that, 6 innings pitched, 11 hits, 10 earned runs. He's heavily reliant on the slider versus right-handed pitching or versus right-handed hitters, and that means he's predictable. This guy's predictable. He's probably going to get blitzkrieged here. But we are talking about the Rangers bats, which have been terrible. I'm going to be fading this spot entirely. I don't want nothing to do with this spot. And for the purpose of time, we got to keep rolling. Ryan Glover, my guy, like the White Sox, worried because their bullpen is a little taxed, so Burke going to have to eat innings. I know, but what gave me a little bit more confidence on the White Sox full game is the fact that the full game in the first 5 market, the splits between the two were not that drastic, indicating that the bookies liked the White Sox just as much in the first 5 as they do the full game. Because I was looking at that same exact thing, Glove. I appreciate the comment, man. I'm going to have to look at that before I pull the final trigger. Padres, Phillies, next game up. 68% of bets, 6% of cash coming in on San Diego Padres. Non-divisional markets with this price and total range, just pretty much a coin flip. Pretty much a coin flip. But when you look at the team-oriented profiles, the Phillies are 6-2 to the under in this profile. And since 2024, the Padres, 7-0 to the under in this profile. We don't see it very often in San Diego. When we do, it goes under. Nola's a guy, I faded him against you. This is the market I posted on X. I talked about at the end of last show. I was on the over in Nola's last game. There's a ton of reasons for that. The total opened at 9.5 with 2 quality pitchers, Nola, Abbott. We've seen it go from 9.5 up to 10, back down to 9.5, but it was moving towards the over. Now we're seeing, the exact opposite in this market environment. The bookies are telling us, I feel like Nola is due for a quality start. Nola's 5-1 to the under in his road starts this season. And the only over came against Pittsburgh, where the total opened at 8 and it closed at 9. Again, we're seeing this total come down the exact opposite way. And Vasquez, I have a ton of metrics here and numbers, underlying metrics that tell me Vasquez is significantly better at home and significantly better year over year. I know the xERA is 5.44, but I like the under in this game. We got a total moving towards the under in a game with 2 starting pitchers with a greater than 5 xERA. Both team-oriented profiles suggest unders to play. Both lineups are struggling mightily versus right-handed pitching. This is an under, 100%. I'm on the under 8 minus 120, and this line has moved. I would still take a 7.5. Athletics and Mariners. Actually, if you could buy up to the 8 at minus 120, I would have to do the math on it. But a lot of times buying to the 8 makes a ton of sense. Buying to the 8 and buying to the 9 in the MLB. Nothing more than minus 125, though. Nothing more. Don't pay more than minus 125 for that half a run. Athletics, Mariners, and this also has the graphic that I posted that I started, was part of my intro, applies to this game. And it's very tricky because the Athletics, since they've been in Sacramento, have been a little bit of an outlier because the sample would suggest, fading the home team. Let me see if I got this right. I got to pull this up. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit late today, but yeah, see, the Athletics are 5-2 straight up and to the over in this sample. I lean towards the under. I lean towards the Athletics in this game. You got Hancock on the mound, a guy who I really believe in. Outside of one start, he's been extremely consistent. Clear improvements in 2026. In 2025, he went from sinker, fastball, changeup. Now he's fastball, sinker, sweeper, cutter. And the cutter is used as a pseudo changeup. So he ditched the changeup. Now he uses the cutter as a pseudo changeup. It's another way to throw a changeup. There's a huge gap between his fastball velo and his cutter velo. And the addition of the cutter, it actually profiles as his best pitch. 136 expected batting average. His K rate jumped from 16 to 26%. There's a ton of reasons Hancock is a bet-on pitcher. On the other side, you got Severino, who is pitching to his 408 xERA at the moment. He's coming off one of his best starts of the season, going 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 10 Ks against LA. But we know that Severino, we know the deal. At home, he's terrible. 5.5, 5.55 ERA this season, 272 opponent batting average. You struggle to find quality home starts. But he did it last year in Sacramento against this very Seattle Mariner lineup. But Seattle's fourth against right-handed pitching. Actually, Sacramento hits right-handed pitching too. Athletics are seventh over the last month, eighth on the season. I backed the Mariners yesterday. I backed the over. I cashed them both. I want to zag today. I'm leaning towards the Athletics and the under. This will be something I post to X. I will be moving on this game one way or the other, but I would be pulling the trigger on the Athletics and the under. I want to be fading the steam, and we're seeing the steam start to come towards the Athletics. It's going to change the complexion of the market, but Athletics and under is the way I'm looking. I might be moving officially on the under, depending on where this market looks like it's going to close, because I doubt it. I wouldn't be opposed to taking a 9 plus 100 or a 9.5 minus 115. Like, no big deal there. Mariners aren't good versus lefties. I know Mariners hit right-handed pitching. It's been even dating back to last season at home or on the road. The Mariners hit right-handed pitching. It's been pretty damn consistent. Next game up, Giants D-backs. I'm sorry, I'm kind of blitzing through this, guys. Kind of got off to a slow start here, but we're gonna make it. We're gonna make our rounds. Giants D-bags. 19% of bets, 10% of cash coming on San Fran. Giants open minus 115. They got down to minus 106 at some point. Now they're back up to minus 115. It's right around that pick 'em price range, and this is very similar market composition to the Athletics game. The only difference is in the Athletics game we got a total above 9. Here we got a total. What is the total in this game? It's at 8, almost juice to the over in this spot. It was actually juicing towards the under earlier, so this is a little bit of a tricky market. Kind of want to let the dust settle, but regardless, the same premise is true. We want to fade the steam in this price range. We haven't seen much steam. And looking at divisional home teams that open between minus 120, minus 110, the line move is 26 and 51 straight up. That's 34%. So the smallest of home favorites in division, you fade the steam. Minus 120, minus 110, fade the steam. You will be profitable better by doing that. Buying the dip on the road team in that case. Molly, this is a guy, he's Jekyll and Hyde a little bit, 6.10 ERA, 4.06 xERA, but his xERA was 5.72 through 5 starts. So through his first 5 starts, 5.72 xERA, that's all the way down to 4.06. That's an encouraging sign. And I don't know what happened, because if you look at since that time, since his first 5 starts where this xERA started dropping, he's been terrible. He gave up 6 earned against Arizona, 5 earned against the Athletics, 4 earned against Pitt, and he did blank the Tampa Bay Rays, but his numbers have been kind of regressing rapidly. He's significantly worse versus right-handed hitters, which is kind of shocking to see. Versus right-handed hitters, he's given up a 340 opponent batting average, a 954 OPS, and a 209 whip. That's awful as a right-handed pitcher. And then you ask yourself, Arizona's a better team against left-handed pitching, but does that apply when the right-handed pitcher has reverse splits? Because Arizona versus left-handed pitching, they're second in the MLB on the season. Versus right-handed pitching, they're 24th. That's drastic. So one thing I'm going to look at before this game pops off is what happens when the Diamondbacks face a right-handed pitcher with reverse splits. Do they treat him like a lefty and get to him or not? Rodriguez on the other side, he definitely has regression looming. He's been significantly better at home. He's been good on the road, but still, like a 4.26 xERA, that's over 2 runs higher than his actual. But, we've seen him go into San Francisco a few times in his career and post quality starts. I don't see why he can't do that again. So easy plan in this one. I don't mind backing either of these teams in this market. I just want to fade the steam. I will be fading the steam. If we see more than a 5-cent move in either direction, I'll be on the other side. I don't care what side it is. D-backs, better pitcher, better bats, better bullpen. Giants aren't hit left. Giants are a travesty, man. Giants are travesty is not the right term. Tragedy. They're just tragic. But I agree. I think the D-backs are the better team. I hope to see this line move towards the Giants. But then I would be concerned. But at the same time, I got the market history to back me up. Last game up, Dodgers, Rockies. This is a little bit of a tricky market here because we've seen, typically, home division. Let's just get right to the market here. We know all the cash is coming down the Dodgers. We see this 5-cent move towards the Rockies, very small, minor move. And, looking at the opening line in this small move, when you look at Lauer on the mound, I guess it's not too shocking to see this line move towards the Rockies. But home teams in division that close between minus 260 and minus 220 are 65 and 18 straight up. That's 78%. 51 and 32 on the run line. Line movement in that profile, in that opening range in division, 65% accurate. That's astounding. However, The average line move in this price range is 32 cents. We're looking at like a 5-cent move. So I expect this line to move drastically before first pitch, which will give us the indicator and give us the confirmation we need to move on this game successfully. There's 83 games in this sample, and we've seen less than a 10-cent move in only 19 games. And only 2 of those games move towards the road team. So there's only 2 games in a 6,000 game sample that fit this profile. It's very rare situation. You got 2 lefties on the mound. They're both bums. Both have over a 5.5 xERA. So I'm surprised to see that this total has started to climb back up. So it's starting to climb back up towards the over. I just got done fading the Rockies on the money line, paying a heavy price 3 games in a row, including game 3, which is the biggest MLB investment of my career by far. It's probably the right thing to continue fading them in this, but this market is so rare. I don't want to step in front of it. I want to see some line movement from where it currently sits before I move. That's the MLB. So we got a lot to iron out there still. I still got to bet the White Sox, and I will be making a post on the Athletics Mariners game because I will have action in that game as well. The 2 late games, really. The Diamondbacks, Giants, Mariners, Athletics, I will be making posts on X just so you guys can follow up. And then, I haven't moved on the White Sox yet, but I will be. I will make that official. The White Sox on the money line. I just got to find the shop at the best price. Now we got the NBA. We got to make this kind of quick here. We're running up against the time. We're running up against time for the first time. Thunder, Spurs, 58% of bets, 55% of cash is coming on the Spurs. Let me actually click over to make sure all these numbers are currently up to date. Yeah, this line is still 4.5. So OKC opens 5.5. They're down to 4.5. It looks like it's heading towards 3.5. Sorka opened this at 6. They're down to 4. The total opened at 215. It's up to 217.5, but it's still short of historical pricing, especially in this series. Because when you look at the line functionality, when OKC's been at home, game 1 they opened 6.5. Spurs win outright. Game 2, OKC closes 7.5. OKC wins and covers. So they go from 6.5 losing outright. The spread gets bigger, goes to 7.5. OKC wins, covers the trifecta. Now in game 5, they open at 5.5, clearly short. Now we're looking at a 4.5, maybe a 4, 3.5. There's no way I could comfortably put my money on OKC in this spot based on that line functionality. But one thing I will gladly take is the under in this situation because we're seeing this total back at 217.5, where games 1 and 2 were 219.5. And I just believe that the under 217.5 makes a ton of sense because it seems like every time I come on the show, we're looking at a series where the prior game consisted of a high turnover rate and a very low effective field goal percentage, right? They were not efficient from the field, but there was a ton of turnovers that created a situation for an over. In game 4, there was 33 total turnovers and 38 points off turnovers. Again, my thesis has been teams will focus on ball security following that type of performance, which leads to longer possessions, less free points off turnovers. So even if both teams shoot better from the field, I feel like that's going to be offset by the 3 points that teams get off turnovers. Points that typically are scored in transition with no time coming off the clock. We're 3-0 betting unders in this type of situation where teams combine for 30 or more turnovers and 30 or more points off turnovers in the playoffs. We're 3-0 thus far, and I'm back on the under 217.5 at minus 105, and I'm pretty comfortably in that position. Oh, we had someone oldie, my guy, Ian. Thank you for giving those, man. Philly fan, the Gas Report, Dirty Leads, Victor Terrenz, my guys, some free gifted memberships. Hammy 5722. Welcome to the crew. Welcome to the crew. Really appreciate you, Ian. Really appreciate your support in the show, supporting Pub Sports Radio. Much appreciated. Last game up is in the NHL. And this is a very tricky spot. The Golden Knights and the Avalanche. Now, it's just shocking to me that this market entirely, but the one thing that sticks out like a sore thumb is the Knights fired their head coach with 8 games left in the regular season, and they're just 1 game away from glory, going to the Stanley Cup. I mean, that's shocking. That's insanity. And it just goes to show you how important coaching is in any sport, any professional sport. It definitely matters. 55% of bets, 51% of cash is coming in the Golden Knights. And more people than I thought are betting on a 4-game sweep of the juggernauts, the Avalanche, right? They've been juggernauts all playoffs long. This line opened Avalanche minus 120. It's down to minus 115. So we're seeing a 5-cent move. The total open 6.5 with 15 cents of juice to the over. So it's continuing to juice towards the over. And we look at the line functionality, very important. Game 1, Avs open minus 175. They lose 4-2. Game 2, Avs open minus 192. They lose 3-1. Game 3, Avs open minus 148. They lose 5-3 with 5 unanswered goals by the Knights. So a minus 148 last game with the Knights at home. Now they're down to minus 120 opening and a 5-cent move away from them. The line functionality clearly favors the Knights. There's no doubt about it. The issue is you're talking about betting on a sweep of one of the best team in the NHL. With a situation where the cash flow splits have evened out heavily after heavily favoring Colorado in games 1, 2, and 3. The line has moved too far, in my opinion. The best team in the NHL is facing a sweep. There's a ton of motivation out here for the Avalanche. But the problem is, back in the Avalanche, their 2 best defensemen are playing hurt. When you got 2 elite defenders like McCarr and McKinnon that are out, or not out, but, significantly reduced in their impact and ability to play defense and just, make an impact on the ice, it changes the complexion of the game and the series entirely. And a lot of people who are more familiar with me when it comes to the NHL, they say that McCarr is one of the best defensemen ever step on the ice. So it's a really tragic development for this Avalanche squad. And honestly, I would want to buck the market in this case and back the Avalanche in this spot. Just knowing that this line has come down, over 30 cents. I feel like it's just too big of a move. We see the cash flow splits even in and out. I would only be looking to back the Avalanche. I know some guys are posting Avalanche in the chat today, and I would agree. And I know that Ron Lofton saying he tailed Jimmy's under look. I would have to agree that the under is the right look. But I just, obviously with totals in the NHL, I don't feel comfortable still. Woo! That was a mouthful, boys. So again, and let me make my official notes here on this. Let me tell you the action that I got. I got the under 217.5 in the NBA game tonight between the Spurs and the Thunder. I got the Orioles Rays over 8.5 minus 115 for 2 units. I got the Red Sox Braves under 9 minus 120. I got the Red Sox money line minus 107. I got the Brewers money line minus 181. The Brewers minus 1 minus 130. The Brewers minus 1.5 plus 115. And the Brewers first 5 money line minus 170 with bad intentions to pull a live bet if I do get if the opportunity arises or the conditions are met where I could pull the trigger comfortably. I got the Padres Phillies under 8, and I got the Tigers Angels first 3 under 2.5 with intentions to live bet that one as well. The game that I added live on the show is the White Sox money line, and I will be following up with a post on the Giants versus D-backs and the Athletics versus Mariners, because those are 2 games where I do think there's a very clear market. I just want to see that final market fall into my range. Men lie, women lie. Numbers never lie. Now, Fabo, I can manipulate numbers to make them maybe lie, if not lie, fib, little white lie, little sneaky, low key lie. I do it for my boss all the time. I appreciate you, Fabo, stepping in to throw that comment in, man. All right, man. That's going to wrap it up for the closing line for today, May 26, 2026. Thank you to everyone stopping by to support us. My name's Troy Torrance. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at Pub Sports Radio to represent the crew. My guy, Peter Loshak's here every other day of the week. And like I say, every day I'm on this show. My ass has been parked in the seat since 5 a.m. looking for an edge. Now it's time to watch our action come to fruition. It's time to watch the hard work pay off. Good capping, good luck, and I'll see your ass on Thursday.
It's easier to sleep in the black when you're losing your ass and feeling so. You know what to do. Tune in to Pub Sports Radio. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's a roller coaster ride, you're gonna catch a bad beat. No problem, keep your head up and just bet the spreadsheet. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. All thanks to Jeff Slaughter, these shows have our backs. POD's always rolling, especially the stats. Easier to sleep in the black. easier to sleep in the black. We got Jimmy, Jose, Dabby and the fam, Dutch wine time, Spooner and OG Wham. So hit the like button, don't say that you can't. If you know what's best, just put your money on tape.